Good afternoon, everyone. Joining us from Fairfield on the dais is head coach Carly Tebow-Dudonis, senior Janelle Brown, and junior Amina Selimovic. Coach, we'll take an opening statement, and then we'll take questions for the student-athletes.
I just want to start by saying how proud I am of what this team has accomplished. I don't think the final score is indicative of what this game was and what this season meant, not only to the women in the locker room, but to our university, to this conference. I think they've represented themselves unbelievably well. I'm so thankful to our senior class who have just given everything to this program over their time at Fairfield. The two next to me, I'm excited that I'll get to continue to coach, but we have a group that is hungry and wants to be in these moments and know this is only the beginning of what it means for Fairfield women's basketball. And we know we're just scratching the surface and want to continue to be in the conversation, in the national conversation in women's basketball. And I know that we can do that. And with these two and a bunch of the women in the locker room, I know that's just the beginning. So I'm proud of how they represented themselves all season long, and in addition to tonight. And I think this is just the beginning for the Stags.
And just a reminder, 15 minutes remain in Fairfield's open locker room. We'll take questions for the student-athletes. If you're in the room, raise your hand, state your name and affiliation prior to asking your question. If you're joining us on Zoom, please use the raise your hand function, and we will get to your question. Ladies, we'll go second row on the right.
Hey, I'm Max Berryman, WVOF Fairfield Student Radio here. I just was going to ask kind of throughout across the team, I think the ball movement in the first half, that extra pass, making, good shot, great shot. Did you feel maybe there, it was less of that in the second half? It was something they did defensively. How would you kind of rate kind of what you were seeing in the second half versus that first half there?
Janelle, why don't you take that one first?
Yeah, I think that the ball was sticking in the second half a little too much. Coach really kind of emphasized that in the huddle, like, hey, we got to keep moving. And then when we pick up the ball, we got to have cutters. I feel like there was a lot of standing. We were just very complacent and very just stagnant. As you said, like, the ball did stick. But I think that if we just keep doing what we're doing, cut without the ball, and then just keep the ball moving, I think that it would have been better for us.
Amina, anything to add?
No, she said it all.
We'll stay second row on the right.
Andrew Jameson, WVOF 88.5 FM, Fairfield University Radio. Amina, obviously you are a transfer seat on entering your junior season, so staying in the MAC, what is it like to play under Coach Carly Tebow-Dudonis, who is in her second year at Fairfield?
It's honestly amazing. I've never had more fun playing basketball. Every day, coming to practice, wanting to be there, and practice goes by fast when you're having fun, and that's, how I felt being coached by Coach Carly, and she makes it fun, and the team, we're so connected, and we actually like being around each other, and that's a huge part of it. So I loved it. This year was, it's a long season, but it didn't feel long. It went by in a blink of an eye, and we're ready to, focus on next year and what we can do next year.
Middle in the back row.
This is for both players. Mike LaPresti, NCAA.com. This would be a challenge today no matter where you played. But can you talk about how tough it is to come in here and play and what it's like to be out there in front of that crowd, because you guys aren't really accustomed to crowds that large?
Janelle, why don't you take that first?
I'll take it. I was going to say the atmosphere was definitely something that was hard to compete against. Couldn't really hear plays, couldn't hear what Coach was saying on the sideline, but I think that the more that we just keep trying to practice, the repetition of communicating on the court, having each other's back on the defensive side, on the offensive side, I think that we can grow as a group. And I feel like this crowd is just the beginning for us. I know back at home for next year, it's going to be bumping. And I think that we're going to have the same crowd that Indiana had this year too. So just looking forward to it.
Amina, anything to add?
The crowd was definitely more than we are used to, but I think it makes basketball a little bit more fun, and that just means we had to be more connected on the court and communicating better with one another. So it definitely gave us a different experience and made us better as a team and more connected as a team.
We'll go second row in the middle.
Nick Jenkinson, South Central Indiana News Network. For you, Amina, that third quarter, it was becoming a three-point shootout between both teams. You hit back-to-back threes. How confident were you feeling after you knocked down that second one?
I felt pretty confident. I mean, I knew that, I prepared for this game to, stretch the floor out and be ready to shoot always. And my teammates were a huge part of that because they were able to find me and they knew that I was hot. So it made a big impact that my teammates, had that trust in me and confidence in me to knock that down.
We'll stay second row on the left.
Zach Browning, thehoosier.com. Janelle, in that second half, you went 2 for 8 after a strong first half. Did you see anything different about IU's defensive coverage, specifically against you in that second half?
Yeah, I definitely saw that they tried to lock down my right hand and just be more poised on offense. They definitely try to take that right hand away, but I think that us just flowing and us just continuing to move, I definitely have to do more jump stops. I know that for sure. But I think that the Indiana defense did a good job on trying to shut us down.
Ladies, Greg Campbell from IUHoosiers.com. Just in the last 2 days, we know that this group does not lack confidence, and it's awesome to see. But with that confidence moving into the offseason, with the season that you just had, what does it set up for next year for this program?
I think it sets up a different opportunity for us. This is just the beginning for us. I understand that we came in, we had them sweating in the first half, but then in the second half, they caught up and they gave it their all. And I'm not surprised at how we came together this year. I'm not surprised on how we played this year because, like Amina said, we were just having fun. And this group loves each other. Day in, day out, I wouldn't want to play with anybody else. And I wouldn't want to play for anybody else but Coach Carly. And I think that we played with our hearts. We played with a lot of heart today. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not sad about it. I'm actually grateful to be here. And I think that my teammates would say the same. We just have to stay up, and we're prepared to be here next year.
Amina, anything to add?
I just want to say that, the beauty of this team is, we're coming back next year with basically the whole roster. And that's big because we just had a year of experience and had such a successful season that we did have this season. And now we can just grow. It's only up from here. And we learned from this game and the season that we did have. And, yeah, like I said, it's just up from here. We learn from each other. We grow. And we just continue making those connections and building on the connections that we already have.
Great. Last one for the student athletes, far left against the wall.
Ivy Spade from Fairfield for both players. Obviously a historical year. What has this team meant to you, and how excited are you to come back next year to build on it?
Amina, why don't you take that first?
This team is literally my whole life. Like, besides school, I love this team so much, and I think about this team day in and day out, and I get so excited after class to be like, yes, I'm ready to go to practice. I'm ready to spend time with the teammates that I love. And one of our seniors, Mac, she said, you guys are my sisters. And it's amazing to have these, sisters by your side to help you go through anything. You go into the gym and you're not feeling like it. You have your sisters to pick you back up and have you focus on something else. And this team is a team full of sisters that I have full confidence and trust in and love so much. And I'm just ready to get back to work and prepare for next season.
Janelle, anything to add?
Sorry. What was the question again? I'm sorry. I forgot.
What has this team meant to you, and how excited are you for come back next year?
This team has meant everything. We all just work for each other. We work with each other, but we really work for each other. I can say Nikki G, our senior, she came in every day ready to work, but ready to make the next person better. And I think that that's the identity of this team, that we come in ready to go, but ready to make each other better. And that's why we had this amazing historical season. And just like Amina said, I'm ready to get back to it. This loss was a lesson, but to be a champion, you got to learn from it. So I think that This team is amazing. Again, I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. And this is just the beginning for us.
Get him back in the lab.
Meet me.
Ladies, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on a great season, and we look forward to watching you next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach.
We will now take questions for Coach. If you're on Zoom, use the raise your hand feature, and we'll get to your question. If you're in the room, just state your name and affiliation, and we'll get started.
Nick Jenkinson, South Central Indiana News Network. Coach, yesterday I asked Sarah about facing you again since you all played, you coached her at Minnesota. And I asked her if she was going to do anything different that you hadn't seen since you had the scouting report on her. Talk about your relationship, and did you see anything that she did today that she didn't do when you coached her?
Sarah's an incredible player, and she's, even from the time that I coached her, I think we're talking about 5 years ago now or something, I coached her first 3 years in college, and she was just always in the gym and continuing to get better. And so she added to her game when I coached her, after I coached her, and as much as you can have a game plan to stop her, she's that good. And she was able to get to her spots on the floor off of some of the floppies and pin downs that they run. And as much as we knew it was coming, she's as good of a player as she is for a reason, because she was still able to separate and get some separation off of those screens. She's savvy. She's always been creative, and I'm proud of her for continuing to add to her game. And as much as I would have loved to stop her, she did a great job and helped carry her team to this win.
Coach, we'll go second row on your right.
Max Berryman, WVUF Fairfield Student Radio. Coach, could you tell us a little bit about kind of just throughout the whole year, but also this game with Katie and Megan specifically, having, as good of freshman seasons as you can, and obviously experience means a lot here. They'll definitely take some lessons from here, but just kind of going forward, what have they meant to the team, and how have you seen them grown throughout the season?
They're pretty good freshmen, huh? Those two have not acted like freshmen since the moment they walked in the door. They had so much confidence in different ways. Meg's a little bit quieter. Lammy's a little bit more in your face. But those two have just carried themselves in a way that you feel their presence every day. Not only how they work before and after practice, but how they carry themselves as teammates and on the court. And they've given this team so much, both offensively and defensively. And how exciting is that this is only year one. I think the sky's the limit, not only for this team, but for them. And we're going to continue to lean on them. But they would be the first to tell you they have areas to grow in. And that's what's so exciting about this team. You heard Amina and Nelly talk about the exciting to get back to work with this team, is this team loves being in the gym. And so I have no doubt in my mind that those two are going to continue to add to their game, much like we mentioned Sarah Scalia has throughout the course of her career. So the future's really bright for those two.
We'll stay on your right against the wall.
Aaron Schiffer on Assembly Call. I wanted to ask you this is probably the hardest challenge you've had this season, given who you've played. First of all, how much bigger of a challenge was this than anything you faced this season? And also, going forward, what can you do to maybe move up to the 11 or 12 line in the future, whether it's scheduling or something else? Because just the difference seeing the game right there now till you're on a true neutral site and not playing the host. What can you do going forward so that you get a line or two higher, which could make all the difference in the world, where you see a lot more upsets?
Hats off to Indiana. They're an incredible team, and now that we're past this game, I hope they take it and go win the whole thing. But they are not only an incredible team in how they play offensively, they're a great defensive team and always have been, but they have their sixth man of the crowd, and this was an incredibly tough environment to play in, and all credit to that environment. And I think that for us, we know in scheduling and strength of schedule, it gets harder and harder as the transfer portal is what it is, and you don't exactly know what the teams that you schedule will be a year later. But we know that our non-conference has to continue to get harder to get us in those 12 and 11 seeds. To be honest, I thought we had done a lot to maybe earn that 12 seed. We took care of business about as well as we could have with 29 straight wins and almost a win at Vanderbilt. But we know that non-conference we have to keep building up, and we now know that the team that we have in the locker room, I think a year ago we didn't quite know how quickly this team was going to gel. So now that we have a pretty good idea of what we will have, our non-conference will certainly be a little bit harder.
Coach will go on your far left against the wall.
Coach, only in your second year as a head coach, what has this group meant to you, especially after this historic year?
I don't know that there's enough words for that. I think that I've said it probably in almost every interview that I do that I don't think I've ever played or coached with a team that cares about each other and cares about showing up for one another and cares about getting better and loves the game. I mean, the list could go on and on of things that they continue to amaze me on. But one thing that this team, that our athletic department, that our university stresses is just, showing up and serving the person to your right and to your left. And they do that in ways that I've never seen before, and how they take care of one another. And so I've become a better coach because of them. They've become better people. They'd be the first to tell you that. And when we left the locker room before coming here, we just talked about, we're going to remember this team for forever. Not because we were, 31-2, but because of how they pushed one another, how they challenged one another, how they grew, how they brought joy to each other's lives. And they not only have done that within our locker room, but within our community, within our campus, within, the little boys and girls that come to games. They bring joy and light to what they do. So I couldn't be prouder of them. And as I told our team, we want to keep fighting for that and continue to do that as we go forward.
We'll have time for two more. We'll start on your right in the second row.
Hey, Coach. Andrew Jamison, WVOF, Fairfield University Radio. This team was kind of a lot different compared to last year's teams with 4 freshmen and 3 transfers. And we saw the chemistry was undeniable, honestly, from start to finish. Where does Fairfield, however, you just obviously had that 3-year contract extension. Where do you see this team going from here? And are you placing like an added emphasis on like transfer portal? Because you have 3 seniors, I believe, leaving in Nikki G, Daliba, and Torado. So is it kind of like a next man up mentality, looking for some of those freshmen to step up in a bigger way?
Absolutely. I think we have a couple freshmen in Carly and Casey that the sky's the limit for them. And everybody it translates at different time as they go from high school to college, but those two certainly have a ton of growth and a great offseason ahead of them. And then I think for us, we've always just gone not so much based on numbers and transfers versus freshmen, but fit and what we need and what fills that void the most. I've loved having graduate transfers like Nicole Gallagher and Isabella Nicoletti Leite. Those two have given us great experience and kind of maturity to our team. So you certainly always keep that option open to continue to add. I think Fairfield's a great place that we have the versatility and we're desirable that we can attract great freshmen that are 4-year players as well as transfers, because we have got an unbelievable graduate program and across the board in a lot of different areas. We can attract graduates. We can attract sophomore, junior transfers, and I think that we more put an emphasis on what's a great fit and what do we need. So we have a couple freshmen coming in next year that we certainly think will be a great add, and then as anybody would, you'll obviously continue to look and see what's the best fit for our culture and our personnel.
Anything else for Coach? If not, Coach, congratulations on a great year, and we look forward to watching your team next year.
Thank you so much.
Both Indiana and Fairfield's locker rooms are closed.